up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. This last week was our biggest ever for our members, including 2 more millionaires. Let's get to the winners. NFL was our biggest cash cow last week, highlighted by some great calls across all of our content, including JT Hayes being all over the 49ers game script on Sunday. Subscribe to our YouTube page now so you don't miss calls like this.
A little bit like the San Francisco defense, 3,200. I think Todd Bowles is a terrible head coach. And I think they'll come in with a terrible game plan in this game. And I think they could get wiped. I think it means a lot of touches for Christian McCaffrey. So if you simply pivot from Henry to McCaffrey, that's a huge ownership discount.
In addition, our cores and player pools were littered with the highest scoring players on the slate. Our members were in sync with our content, and the leaderboards proved it. Peter Pan 14 kicked things off, hitting for 117K in NFL Showdown. J-Dub 115 hit for 7K. Sammy Davis Jr. hit for 10K. OG member Brittany turned $75 into 11K. J. Ree won 30K. CSP 246 shipped 40K. Craven or Vad used Mangones and my weekly construction advice to hit for 40K. And K. Phallic hit for 46K with a Russell Wilson lineup. We'll get to our biggest NFL winners in just a second, but first we need to shout out some big wins in our other sports. Our content continued to crush in the soccer streets, with NYG fan hitting for 10K. K. Phallic's hot streak continued in the World Cup, shipping for 27K. In NBA, Long Dick Dong hit for 7K, while in MMA, Sevens Vox shipped a monster 51K. At Rumpier Sports, we take pride in featuring content contributors who actually make a living playing DFS. We put our money behind our picks on every slate, unlike many of our competitors. There's nothing better than when our members benefit from our content, and this week was the best week yet, producing 2 DraftKings Millie Maker winners to follow up last week's Millie Maker success. Shout out to Deepwater, who shipped $1 million in the 44-44. And huge shout out as well to Gordon Jonathan. He shipped the $20 Millionaire Maker with a monster score of 272 DK points, blowing away the competition. Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value with all sports included for one low price. And while you're watching, hit that like button now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Until next time, let's keep running pure.
Ho, ho, ho. Holden Kushner. You're not calling me Holden Kushner today, boys. I am Santa Kush, passing out eighths and ounces all day long. What is going on, boys? We've got Mangone in a house that looks like it's jaundiced. We've got Tyler. Tyler, when's the last time you went out in the sun, buddy?
Let's talk about a while, Holden. I don't go out in the sun very much. When I go out, I go like this, and I don't like it. It starts to burn.
Do you seriously burn like that?
No, it's just like I work it overnight. You don't go out in the store much, so it's like when I do go to the store, it's after work in the morning. So go home, go to bed, go back to work at night. So me and the sun don't get along all that much.
Tyler's here because Spread finally got caught. They've charged him with 21 murders. So good to see you, Tyler. Thanks for stopping by. Mangone, where are you again? Florida?
I'm in Florida. Yep.
Nice. Kicking back, going to the beach, checking out the ladies.
I am by where the hurricane was, Holden, and the beaches are still closed. There's no beach.
What?
I'm not allowed to go to the beach. Yes.
Oh man.
They have to, apparently, I have been told they have to clean the beaches. It's like such a disaster with all the stuff in it. They're like sifting through the sand to fix it all. So the beaches are still closed. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's a disaster. And I'm going to go on like a trip, I think, tomorrow to check out all of the ridiculous things that are still not.
There's probably some good seashells out there if you want to do that, if you want to go shelling.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably glass in there too from buildings and stuff if I want to cut myself. So there's a lot.
All right. Hot start to the show today. So here's what we're doing this afternoon. It's going to be a different show. And listen, we're going to eliminate the weather. The only game we're going to talk about with some weather is the Jets and the Jaguars, and that's not even that bad. We got Seattle at Kansas City. That game will be in the 20s. No worries. Green Bay at Miami, basically in the dome. Denver at the Rams, dome. Bucks, Cards, dome. Kind of bummed, to be honest with you guys, that we don't have an outdoor game on Christmas, but this week's slate's on Saturday. So it's a bit different. Again, usually we go down the main slate. We don't have much Christmas content. So let's get into this here. Again, Seattle, Kansas City, Green Bay, Miami, Denver and the Rams, Bucks, Cards, Jags, Jets. We'll do Thursday Night Football last. If you have any questions and you're a subscriber, hit us up in the premium chat today, and I'll try and get to your questions if that is possible. Okay. But let's jump right into it, gentlemen. Seattle and Kansas City here, Tyler, a hearty total of 48.5. There's no other game. I guess Eagles, Cowboys, right? That's the two games with real totals. And then we'll get to the Christmas Day game with the Packers and the Dolphins have an extremely high total as well. But you've got a Kansas City defense that even Russell Wilson shredded. You've got a Seahawks passing offense looking pretty good. And then Mahomes can just shred anybody. But we're talking about a 9.5 point favorite for Kansas City at home, 48.5 total. Tyler, you like anything in this game?
Yeah, looking at this one for me, I'm not going to take a side here. 9.5's a lot. If I'm betting the side, I'm probably going through like a Kelsey touchdown and win. The over sounds great here, 48.5. Both teams are going to put up points. Seattle will be without Lockett here with the broken finger. So he'll be out. It'll be more Metcalf. Walker's still questionable, but I think he plays. McKinnon's looked great for KC also. So there's another guy that could put points on the board for KC. But we've watched this Seattle team. They funnel everything to the middle of the field. We've watched them give up 4 receptions, 93 yards to Kittle. Kelsey's been quiet. You don't think he's going for multiple touchdowns in this game right here, Holden? I think this is a perfect nuke spot for him. I'm betting him 2+ touchdowns, 3+. I think this is that game where he just explodes and just goes off on the Seattle team. It's also the perfect game for Mahomes to just take a death grip on that MVP. I know Hurts is now done for a couple weeks. He's minus 280, but they'll still creep him back up into that race. But if Mahomes throws multiple touchdowns here, 350 yards, he's definitely taking that award.
Don't think that those dudes don't know this too. Like, oh, Mahomes doesn't pay attention to MVP. Yes,
he does.
Absolutely. He probably wants to have more MVPs than anybody else. You know, everybody's talking about Jalen Hurts being better than him. Well, go show it, Patrick Mahomes. I think that's happening. Again, this is on the main slate, Mangone. So we got Saturday. And if you don't know, our Sunday programming has been moved to Saturday. So it'll be the same thing. You'll get JT, AP, and Tambo at 8:45 Eastern. Then you'll get the Wood right after that at 10 Eastern. And then me, JSU, and JJ Apricina leading you up to lock from 11:30 to the lock. But here, we'll do something a little different here. Mangone, you wanted to pick one game from this Saturday slate, and I don't blame you, man. This is amazing. So the first look at this slate, I said, I'm going to have at least one Geno, DK, Marquise Goodwin stack, and we'll run it back with somebody, whether it be McKinnon or not. So can you start with the Seattle side and how to attack this game with that Kansas City Swiss cheese defense?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a good spot to fire up the Geno stacks. And like, look at the price gap between Geno and Pat Mahomes. I mean, 5,800 versus 8,400. I mean, that's a huge gap there. So, and we saw it last week. Like, I think Jalen Hurts, like, obviously had a great week and everything, but when you play Jalen Hurts and you play AJ Brown, which I played a lot of last week, it gets difficult to build out the rest of your lineup. And so, like, when you play someone like Geno at 5'8", and you have value plays like Marquise Goodwin at 4.3, and then you have Metcalf at 7.1, which isn't a value, but it's a nice piece to pair with it. It makes it a little bit easier for your stack. So you're going to obviously like DK Metcalf this week with no Tyler Lockett. Really good spot. Marquise Goodwin at 4.3, going to be a value that people are looking to go to, probably in your cash games. But how do we handle Kansas City, Holden? I mean, Jerick McKinnon has been, he's been absolutely on fire. It's crazy. He's 5.9K. It feels like such a chase, though. I'm just going to call it out. It feels like an insane chase. I don't know if I can get behind it as much, but you can't.
You gotta have like, if you play 10 lineups, you gotta have one McKinnon.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if you're stacking this game up a bunch of ways, right? You're not just Xing McKinnon. That's the point I'm getting at. It depends how many lineups you're playing and everything. Depends on the ownership, but obviously going to be in play. Don't sleep on Pacheco. I want to see what his ownership is going to be versus McKinnon, because I think people are just going to want to go to McKinnon over Pacheco, especially on DraftKings. I mean, if you look, DK's a PPR site and look at the targets that McKinnon's had the last 2 weeks, people are definitely going to gravitate, I think, towards McKinnon over Pacheco for the $200 more. Receivers tough because they've gotten healthier. They have Juju Smith-Schuster at 5'8", which, dude, Juju has 11 and 10 targets. Like, don't totally sleep on Juju. I think he's going to be a pretty good option that we should be considering this week. Tony's at 4'4". Not really dying to play him. He's more of a gadget guy. You know, certain situations they're going to get him the ball. I know Valdez-Scantling finally scored a touchdown, but dude scores a touchdown, gets 5 targets, and gets a whopping 11.6 DraftKings points. Like, I'm good on Scantling. It is one of those matchups where, like, you could see explosive plays, right? Seattle's a team that will give up explosive plays. So, like, it makes some sense to consider Scantling. Again, if you're playing a lot of teams, I wouldn't X out Scantling. I'm not going to X him, but he's not someone I'm gravitating towards by any means. So, and then let's see. I don't know. Sky Moore is the other guy. Him and Justin Watson are the other two that kind of get mixed in out, but I don't think taking a chance on them is worth it. We'll just stick to the other guys that we kind of talked about. We haven't talked about the tight ends yet. And I mean, Noah Fant at 3-4, he was a non-participant on Tuesday. These games are on Saturday instead, which technically, Holden, I assume Thursday is the practice that matters the most for the reports, yes, right? So we'll see what happens with Noah Fant. But if he does not play, I think it's got to be Will Dissly as an option, right? I mean, 2.7K. We know that they like to throw their tight ends in Seattle with Geno Smith. 2.7 for a stack in this spot. You could literally ride Geno Smith, Marquise Goodwin, and a Will Dissly stack. And like, I mean, you'd have a lot of money to spend up at spots. Travis Kelce's 8K. Man, 8K is an expensive tag, but the key with tight end is you really separated that position. If Travis Kelce goes out there and puts up 30 DK points, and AJ Brown goes out there and puts up 30 DK points, well, do you know what really doesn't matter is having AJ Brown at that 30 spot when Kelce's at the tight end and other guys are just stuck there with like 2s. You got to catch up in other spots. You know what I mean? So there is some value in plugging in Kelce at that tight end position versus other options. Let's look at the actual tight end position as a whole. You got Mark Andrews going up against Atlanta. You got George Kittle going up against Washington, which I don't think they're going to use Kittle as much. And after a big week, I don't think I want to go there. Hawkinson's at 4-9 against the Giants. That's not a bad one in a dome. And I know Dallas Goedert will be back. There are good options, but it just depends if you feel like separating at the position with Kelce is going to be worth it. Could he put up a monster game? Sure, but you do have to think about how it's going to affect your full lineup. So that's something definitely to consider when building things out. And one thing you might want to do is, instead of doing the double stack of Geno, DK Metcalf, and Marquise Goodwin, maybe you start with Geno, Marquise Goodwin, and you pair it up with Travis Kelce, right? Like, that might be the best way to kind of get him in your lineups. Not pairing it up with Mahomes, just because when you plug in Mahomes at 8.4 and Kelce at 8K, try and build a lineup, right? Go into SaberSim, lock both guys, and then see what the lineup is, because it's brutal. It's definitely not a pretty team. So that's something to think about when kind of constructing this game. And we didn't talk about the Seattle running backs enough. I know Walker was dealing with an injury. He's a non-participant on Tuesday. I know he's 6'4". If you told me he's a full go, I'd be interested. But I think at the end of the day, they're just going to mix and match these guys. It's one of those situations where, like, if Kenneth Walker didn't get hurt all year, he would have just been the guy the whole year and just would have kept going. But what always happens is with these running backs is someone gets hurt, right? Like Joe Mixon, for instance. Remember, he got hurt and then P. Ryan got mixed in. He's looked good. Well, what'd they do? They still mixed in P. Ryan enough. You know what I mean? I just don't think I need to play Kenneth Walker. I think it's really focusing on the pass game, not messing around with these running backs too much, just because it's like a wild card situation in Seattle, and going from there. And Kelsey's going to be a huge decision point on this slate. So, yeah. And this is why my recommendation is to really sign up, use SaberSim, and like use an optimizer and see what it does. Because sometimes I remember last week I plugged in, like I saw a team that I had, and I had Derrick Henry, I had Justin Herbert, and I had Mike Williams on the team. And I looked around at the team, and I think it had Zay Jones on it. Zay Jones had like 32 or whatever DraftKings points he had. And the rest of my players around it, like Zay Jones was outscoring everyone else. That wasn't Henry, Herbert, and like all the guys in the late spot. And basically I was like, this team was fine, but man, I sacrificed a lot to get Henry, Herbert, and along with Herbert, Mike Williams. And like, if you looked at Big T's like core this week, he sacrificed a lot to make that work too. I remember he went Ogunbowale or whatever that dude was on the Texans. And I don't think he was like awful. I can't remember what he did, but when you spend for guys like Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes together, it takes a toll on your entire lineup. That's just the way that this current DFS like salary is. It's just the simple thing. So that's why like these cheaper quarterbacks, when we have them available and they're like actual competent and good quarterbacks, which some weeks we haven't had, we need to take advantage of it. And I think Geno Smith is a quarterback that we need to take advantage of having on this main slate. I mean, he's only 5.8K. We will, and I know this isn't just about this one slate. We got Daniel Jones against the Vikings, and the Vikings suck against everyone. But when we have cheap quarterbacks that are actually really good, we need to play them because of what it does for the rest of our entire lineup.
Geno, what's Goodwin's ceiling this week?
I mean, it's high. Because he's like wide receiver too. And I think the other thing to look at sometimes in these spots, Holden, who is the wide receiver 3 on Seattle? Can you tell me that answer? Because I don't even think I know.
Eskridge? Is it
It's
D.
Eskridge? Yeah.
Eskridge, I think he's out.
He's hurt though, right?
Correct. So look at the list. I'm looking.
Penny Hart?
Yeah, like, so that's my point.
Is he even there still? Is Penny Hart there?
I think he's there.
And
that's the only other guy I know.
And that's what actually might even make the tight ends even more valuable on Seattle, because they might do more double tight end, or they might line up their tight end out more than normal. So like, this is going to be a really condensed target share. I'm definitely going to have, I think I got a ticket in that like 555 million that I'm going to be playing this week. So I'm going to have to make a big decision. This is going to be one of the best games in the slate. Do I eat some of this chalk? And my current opinion right now, and I think best way to handle it, is I like the idea of eating the Geno Smith and Goodwin chalk. Because it's so cheap, what happens is, and this is a good analogy, is NBA. Let's say you have, Holden, you know how you have like these like 3K point guards that are like locks sometimes in the NBA, right? You just put them in there. I don't have to get different there, but where can I get different? I can get different with my stud. So maybe I eat the Geno quarterback chalk. I eat it with a Marquise Goodwin. But the good thing that I can do with that is I have a lot of salary to get different up top with other options. Again, I haven't looked that much at the main slate, but I do think some of the cheap chalk sometimes is enticing, because instead of eating like expensive chalk like the Chargers, I think that a lot of us ate last week, when you play the expensive chalk so much, then you have to get different with your cheap guys. So like, do you want to roll the dice with like Philip Dorsett instead of Moore, or like some of these other guys? Again, not saying you had to play more last week, but I guess the point I'm getting at is I want my low owned guys, I want them to be like bullets, right? Guys that can just get me the top leaderboard. Like I go out there and I'm like, I got AJ Brown, get me 30 DK points at 5%. That's something I'm interested in. I'm not interested in trying to play Philip Dorsett or I don't know, any other crappy wide receiver in the league and hope they just catch that long bomb that they're probably not going to catch, or it's going to get overthrown and they won't get many attempts all game. So that's why I think sometimes eating the cheaper chalk is a lot better. And I think I am going to eat some of this cheaper chalk. Like maybe it's doing a Geno and maybe it's Geno with like Travis Kelce and Goodwin, like we talked about. And the thing that's really nice about that is, yes, Travis Kelce is expensive, but tight end is a tough position. And wide receiver is where I like to get different, because you can see Justin Jefferson go out there and get 6 DraftKings points. Like it is certainly possible. It's just something that's in the range of outcomes for him, because if Kirk Cousins doesn't get him the ball, I just don't get him the ball. So wide receiver is a spot I really like to get different with my positions. So I don't like to like put too many chalk pieces in there, but I do think Marquise Goodwin's going to be really good chalk this week.
Okay. So that's a hell of a breakdown right there. That's the one main slate game we're going to break down against. That Saturday. The weather is going to be nutty. We know that. I think the Sunday morning shows are going to be more important than ever. Be perfectly upfront with you, because we'll know what the weather is. We'll know what the effects are. And then JSU, who doesn't give a shit about weather, if he does care about one of those games, then you know that there's going to be some problems there. Okay.
You should care about weather if the line movement, right? Like that's
everything's moving. I think it's too early in the week to worry about the line movement.
I agree. You wait till the day before. It's interesting to note, hey, the line opened at 48. Maybe now it's down to 45. Does it plummet more in the next 36 hours? And if you see it plummet getting closer to game time, that is always a giant red flag for me.
Tyler, what do you think about that?
I'm not playing weather angles until I got pictures and videos of the field that day anymore.
Good.
Because everyone told me on Sunday that there was going to be a blizzard game with the Miami and Buffalo.
Yeah.
And the game started, there wasn't a speck of snow on the field.
But the point with that, Tyler, is the line never moved that much. It moved at the start. It wasn't moving that day. It made no sense. So I was watching that, and I remember I was talking to my buddies about it when I was kind of figuring out, hey, what am I doing today for cash games? Trying to like iron out what am I doing with this Buffalo situation. And I said, what's the line at? My buddy said the line. I said, that hasn't moved. So I don't even have a radar. I don't need a radar to figure this out. That game is going to play pretty much as of norm. And that's what's key. Whenever we see the lines just plummet the day of, that's when okay, this is a lot more real than you think. And listen, there's a reason Vegas, has those big buildings, right? I'm not saying they're right about everything. And I'm not saying we can't take advantage of things, but if lines aren't plummeting, there's a reason sometimes where they're not. And if lines are plummeting a ton, there's a reason why. So just take that into, put it in the memory bank. We play DFS. We also do betting stuff as well. Not saying we can't find edges here and there, but those lines are normally very, very sharp. So there's a reasons why they go down.
Tyler, we just got news that Trace McSorley is starting.
I seen that.
So I just wonder if we should just hop on a team total there, under 3 points.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all.
Dude, their total? Hold on a second. Hold on.
After seeing what he did last week, he was terrible.
Dude, their total is 17.5?
Give me the under.
I'm seriously, I don't like going to the book and betting something just because, but how do you not look at that and say, holy moly, Trace McSorley against the Bucs. The Bucs defense, they can still play defense.
Yep.
Right.
I totally agree. Give me the under
Florida,
there.
So I can't make a wager on it.
Oh, you can't. I mean, it's the worst. Florida's the worst. Seriously.
I think they have betting, but there's some you need a ridiculous.
Oh, no. When I was down there, I tried. They had one book. It was the Hard Rock.
Yeah.
And then I tried to put money in, and the next day they shut it down. Thank God I couldn't put the money in. It was that place is Florida is just the worst. Do you see the video on my timeline where the dominatrix brought a couple of people in and down in Florida and is trying to get a dungeon built there?
I did not see that video on my timeline.
Good times.
Okay, I might have to check that out later. That might be maybe an after hours activity.
It's really not that great as far as that.
When I'm bored at because I'm on mountain time still, right? I was up till 3 a.m. last night Eastern. If it's 1 a.m. Eastern, I'll be like, what's that? That's that thing Holden was talking about.
What was that? What was that? And then maybe you could go to City Hall and get on that. Okay, so we still got 4 games. That took a surprisingly long time. I did not know we did this, but we got a 25% off deal right now. 25% off your first payment on monthly subscriptions. No Saber, but ho 25. Well, you got to, if you do 2 of them, it's not going to work, folks. So make sure you do all 3. Ho 25, and you get 25% off your first payment. Isn't that amazing?
Tyler, I have a question for you. This is this is ingrained in my brain, and I need someone to confirm.
Fire it off.
If you were casting a movie, right? We're casting a movie, and we had to find a Santa to just be an absolute disaster of a Santa. It'd be Holden, right?
It's got to be Holden.
I would be who is the guy that played Bad Santa?
Yeah, exactly. The bad.
I would be his backup. I would be his fill-in.
1,000%.
I'd totally be doing stuff to women in bathrooms during the holidays.
I could totally see it. I could see Holden being the guy, just pulling his beard down, with a 100%. Kid in his lap, yelling, has a cigarette on the side. It just.
I don't smoke cigarettes.
I know you don't, but you might
have to be really stoned on that Christmas chair.
I'd be right. What's funny is that my 5-year-old son on the first day of Hanukkah decided that he wanted to meet Santa Claus. And I tried to convince him that the Santa Claus that's in the Park Meadows Mall is not the real Santa Claus. And I tried to use logic. I'm like, how is he building all of these gifts? And at every turn, he's an ultimate contrarian. How is he building? Well, he doesn't build the gifts. The elves build the gifts. So it's he just had time to hang out in the mall for 2 weeks. Is that what we're doing here? And he's like, yeah, Dad. So I'm not going to ruin the lie for him. It's a huge lie. Let me ask you guys something. Was it devastating when you learned about Santa? Was it worth the lie?
I mean,
I think it's worth the lie.
Yeah.
It's worth the lie? Like you didn't get upset at your parents?
I mean,
really.
I don't know. I think about like if I was in school, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back, but like if I was like the one who didn't think it was, I feel like I'd tell the kids like, hey, I think I'm like Santa's not real. And they'd be like, it'd be like a gang of them be like, what do you mean Santa's not
Yeah,
real?
they gang up on you. They're
Yeah,
just like,
I feel like I'm getting
Santa's
bullied. And like
real.
what, like 6 years from then, I'm like, I was right. Like we're not even in the same class anymore. You know what I mean?
I feel like going into my daughter's second grade class and just being like, hey guys, Santa's not real, and then just walking out.
you know
But I
what you
can't
should have
do
did to
that.
your kid, Holden? You should have took him to the mall and then took him to the next closest mall. So he
I
sees
know.
two
I was,
Santas in one day.
Tyler, I was thinking about it, man. I'm not even kidding you. I was like, all
Gotta
right,
really
we'll take
fuck
him
them
here.
up.
But apparently the other Santas are not real. Just the one that was, he was gassy. He was disgusting too. He was a horrible Santa Claus. He was miserable. He got up, he got it right. My son was the last one. He got up, he had to take a dump. He didn't come back for 20 minutes. The bathroom, you saw him walk into the bathroom. It's like Santa Claus didn't have to go to the bathroom. What does Santa Claus do on the sled? Seriously, guys, does he wear a diaper? Is he
Just
using your bathroom?
And then he
What
goes
does he
right
do to go to the bathroom? These are questions.
No, he goes when he well, he eats a lot of cookies, right? That's the other
He
thing.
just
There's
drops them
the
right
other
off the
thing.
side of the sled as he's flying past.
Cookies
Holden.
and
They just fall.
coffee. Hey, listen, all I'm saying is if he abuses your bathroom, don't be surprised. Christmas Day game. Speaking of Christmas, it's Saturday. Hold on. Christmas is Sunday. That's why they're playing the whole slate on Saturday. So let's get into this one here. Talk about a disaster. I am once again today. Green Bay at Miami. So this line has moved from 4.5 down to 3.5 at most books, sitting at 4 on Bet Rivers. Packers plus 175, Dolphins minus 200. Biggest total on the slate here, 49. And Tyler, I know you and I are on separate sides on the sides on this one, but why do you like the Dolphins to cover this number? And what do you think about this total?
Yeah, I mean, as for the side, the more I look at it, just watching last week's game for Green Bay, their offensive line couldn't keep the Rams off Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, they put together a couple of nice drives at the end of the game. Their defense was able to get to Baker a ton, and they were just able to keep that game perfectly intact for them. Miami needs this win. I know Green Bay needs it a lot because they're fighting for the playoffs. Miami needs it a lot too. They've lost 3 in a row. They need a big win. Their pressure on the quarterback is going to be a lot better than what the Rams were sending. I think Rodgers is going to be in hell on Sunday. They have one corner in Jari Alexander that can cover somebody. And these receivers for Miami aren't the easiest cover. They're very fast. They're going to be able to get up and down the field. And Mike McDaniel schemed a San Francisco offense multiple times that just shredded this Green Bay defense. Now you give them these weapons in Miami with Mostert still, who I think has a big game here. Give me Miami by at least a touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised if they blew this team out.
A touchdown. Oof. That's a lot. Mangone, Green Bay's coming down from sub-zero temperatures. You're going to get a nice 100 degrees. Well, actually, it's supposed to be in the 50s and raining there, from what I understand. It's not even going to be that nasty. Talk to me here, DFS-wise, with the high total on Christmas. And then you say, then we got Russell Wilson and John Wofford, Wash Brady, and Trace McSorley. Okay? So you want to start with the quarterbacks here, please.
Yeah, I just realized I'm only like a couple hours away from Miami, Holden. If I wanted to go watch my Packers play McDaniel,
If you wanted to,
I could go, but that doesn't sound fun because then I'd miss all the football games and all the basketball games, and DFS is more important. So, but anyways, yeah, this should be obviously an interesting game. It's the first game too, which on these slates, there's obviously some like game theory involved where it's like you could like play some early plays that maybe people aren't going to play, eat some chalk later, fade some early chalk, just kind of like see where you land and then like kind of pivot your teams around. The problem is, man, I don't know what to pivot to in some of these other games. I mean, we'll get to it. It's gonna get ugly fast. At least it starts off with a good game. Tua, 7K, Aaron Rodgers, 5.9. Two of the better quarterbacks probably on the slate. One thing they call it with the Packers is they're going against Miami, and Miami's pass D has been a lot, or not just pass D, just defense in general has been a lot better at home. And I'm kind of with Tyler. I think Miami wins this game. And I think they win this game a little bit easier. We'll see if the old Aaron Rodgers can show up out of nowhere, but he is still playing with that broken thumb. Like I'm a little skeptical. We'll see how it works out for him. I do think we are going to want to spend for some options. And like, do we want to spend for DeAndre Hopkins at 7.5? when he's got Trace McSorley throwing him the ball, or would you rather just play Waddle at 7-2 or Tyreek Hill at 9K? Feels like you want to prioritize a Miami receiver this week for sure. So I will probably prioritize at least one of them. If you look at the tight end position, no one in this game that you're dying to get to, like Gesicki, Tanya, like they're fine, but tight end in general is brutal this week. So it's not something, I'll probably just look for a low-owned guy there. If one of these guys in this game is low-owned, maybe I'll take a chance on it with my quarterback. But I do think Tua is going to be the guy that I end up probably gravitating towards the most on this slate because it is just a brutal position. So we should call out Aaron Jones is 7-5. And Aaron Jones, he's got a really nice floor overall. And yeah, there's times where he's not getting used and everyone's all angry about it. But when they're down, are they going to use A.J. Dillon? Like, probably not. So I assume this is a pretty good spot for Aaron Jones to get fed the ball a bit in the pass game, kind of get peppered with the targets. If you look, he's got 4 or more targets in his last 4 games, which is pretty solid overall. I'm fine with that. And running back is just okay this week, right? I mean, you got James Conner, Mostert, Fournette, A.J. Dillon, Latavius Murray. I mean, we got some cheap options that are okay, but man, it's going to be brutal down here. So I think Aaron Jones could be one of those spends that we want to kind of gravitate towards. Now, if he has very high ownership, you can make a case that if he does, let's say that the Green Bay just absolutely slaughtered, well, Aaron Jones ain't going to do anything and he might not be worth the salary, but I do think Aaron Jones is going to be worth it for sure. So we should talk about if the Packers are losing a bunch, who are the receivers that we want to go on Green Bay? Christian Watson at 6K. Do we want to take a chance on that?
Dobbs?
Yeah, my opinion is no. I don't want to go to Watson because I think there's some regression setting in for him with the touchdowns. If you look, he had 15 catches over the past 4 weeks. If you don't include the game against the Rams, don't include that one. He had 7 touchdowns on 15 catches. That's like insane. I'm not expecting him to just bust out for a big one. I'd rather go to Alan Lazard, who's seen similar amount of targets. I'd go to him at 5.5. Romeo Dobbs, I wouldn't mind taking a chance on too. I think that's a good call out there by you holding at 4.7K. So I'd rather.
That's another reason I don't like Watson.
I want to get in there too. I mean, you've seen it in their game recently. He went away from Lazard after he overthrew him, and he just peppered Dobbs the rest of that game. Dobbs runs a lot out of the slot too, so that might be his guy in this game.
Yes, so that's actually a fair point because what you could see is Watson doing some more outside stuff now because before they just had 2 receivers, right? And they had Cobb that they mix in there, but Cobb ain't always in there. Dobbs might be more of the slot guy. Like this might be his role for the rest of the year. And this might be a great spot for him. So I agree. Dobbs is definitely a good option to go to. So don't ignore him. And they're going to be trailing, right? I mean, it's going to be a trailing script, I assume. So yeah. And if it is a trailing script, and Tyler, if you think that they just run all over them like they have in the past, there was talks that Jeff Wilson Jr. was close to playing last week. If that's the case, I think he could play this week. And then that muddies up that Miami situation of which running back to go to. Now, one thing I think that you brought up, I don't know which one of you brought up.
Mostert missed practice today.
Did he really? Jeez, he missed practice. Oh, well, we'll see. I mean, that's obviously something we'll figure out on Sunday. But the thing I was going to mention was, yes, I forget which one you talked about. It was about Tua and how he was throwing more deep balls and now they're doing shorter stuff. Well, that's going to be good for Tyreek Hill. And let's say they are at they're at the 2-yard line. Like there's ways just to scheme Tyreek Hill open really quick, right? And just throw him a quick dump off and stuff like that. And prioritizing that more than your run game. Like if you have Derrick Henry and you're at the 2, you just hand it to him and hope for the best, right? They are going to scheme open Tyreek Hill in spots at the goal line. Like he does get not goal line. He gets red zone targets. So overall, I do think you're going to see if they are down there, they're not just going to run it every single time. They are going to look to scheme these guys open for short little yardage plays. And that's why I think you're going to want to be on Tyreek Hill. They're going to move the ball with ease, I think, against Green Bay. You might even see Tyreek Hill rip off a big run. That wouldn't do we have any props, Tyler? I can't bet him because I'm not in a state right now, but do we have any props on Tyreek Hill rushing yards or something like a 0.5 or something? Because this is one where I could see him easily getting attempts because they're just going to run all over him all game long.
Yeah, I'm pulling up that game now.
Too early in the week.
Yeah, too early in the week, and I haven't seen a rushing prop on him all year. So
yeah, I assume
you know what? All these books, dude, if you really wanted to, you just hit them up. Say, hey, what's the line on Tyreek Hill? No, I'm serious, man. I've done that a couple times.
Really?
Points bet. And I said, listen,
attempts.
can you give me a line on this? And they did it.
His attempts may not be as high, but I always like these. I always like those when it's a run defense that you can just gash completely. And they have like a quick receiver that they occasionally do. Like Jamar Chase is one of them. Like in the postseason, like if they hang those up there, Jamar Chase gets like rush attempts when like the games matter because they're like, we just want to get this dude in open space. And like we get him on an end around. And if it's the line's 0.5, it's like, okay, one attempt he gets there. So that's more in playoff games I've noticed. But this is kind of like a playoff game. You know what I mean? And again, they're going to gash this Packers defense. I am not worried at all. So that's why it was kind of going through my brain. I just think they're going to move the ball with ease. They're going to be able to get whatever they want. They're going to do dink and dunk stuff. And it's just going to be an easy game for the Dolphins.
All right, guys and girls, thumbs up would be wonderful. We would love that. By the way, Tyler, I was just looking at this. I told you it was 16.5 total, and you were getting a plus 105 or 16.5 for the Cardinals team total. You're getting a plus 105, and I just saw a minus 150. So
okay,
everybody jumped to bet it, which makes me not want to bet it. Anyways, thumbs up. Give us a like button. We've been doing this all year for you. You know what we bring here. Plus, we had the two Millie Makers 2 weeks ago. Both of them RPS subscribers. Everybody's winning, man. Everybody's winning. So know that. Ho, 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 25. Ho, 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 25% off first payment on your monthly subscription. But Saber's not included, but don't worry about it. Check it out, and you'll have a wonderful time. Denver and the Rams. Ugh. Russell Wilson will be back. Broncos 2.5-point favorites on the road against John Wofford and the Rams. No, it's not John Wofford. It's Baker Mayfield. Sorry. Apologies. Baker Mayfield. We get another great Baker Mayfield game.
National
Rams,
TV Baker Mayfield game, Holden. Can't wait.
Rams plus 120, 36.5 is the total. I mean, if you weren't playing DFS or it wasn't the fantasy playoffs or you're betting, you just, I wouldn't even mess with it, but I have to. It's my job to watch these shitty Broncos games. It's so bad. Tyler,
I'm glad one of us on the screen will be watching that game because I'll be watching the Bucs Celtics game at 4 o'clock. I can't tune into this football game. This is a bad one. The only thing I picked out the bet in this game, we did the NFL playbook. We marked this as a fade. The only things I would attack, Latavius Murray to score a touchdown because the Rams defense stinks and he could run it all over them. We've seen Green Bay move the ball on the ground against them. Baker's known to turn it over also. Denver's defense is solid. You're telling me he can't throw a pick six or get strip sacked in this for a touchdown? That's the only two ways I'm approaching this game. If you need a side in this game and you just want to bet it, I'd probably take Denver.
Quick breakdown there. Just a horrible
game.
I can't lay 2.5 with Denver on the road. I've seen too much of this garbage.
And are we getting involved in a total at 36.5?
You know what? I've bet unders all year long. If there's one game I would bet an over, I would do this one.
Yeah, so it's like
36.5. Let it come down some more. It's just awful. It really is just awful. Bad stuff. Ugh. Mangone.
Yeah,
Gross.
I wish I could just say Broncos country, let's ride, and we
got to find something. How about Marlon Mack? How about Jerry Jeudy? How about Tutu Atwell?
How about putting the running back? How about putting those running backs with the Denver defense here? Like you get one of those running backs with the defense, they just get all over Baker. He throws a couple picks. They could be the best defense on these 4 games.
Mangone, I think Jerry Jeudy's breaking out. He's getting, 8-9 targets. We'll see what happens this week. Could be a lower scoring game. And Russell Wilson doesn't air it out, but Marlon Mack is the primary pass catching back right now. And all the Broncos quarterbacks do is dump it down. So talk to me here. Can we get a little bit of Marlon Mack, or do we just want to fade this game? And you got to get different somewhere.
It's fair. And Wilson will be back, right? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's the thing that's nice, at least for Jerry Jeudy, is it's his like whole entire back. I mean, like receiving group, like he's the guy. They're hoping Sutton returns from a hamstring, but listen, even if he returns, it's a hamstring, right? I'd be cautious with him. I wouldn't just play him and hope for the best. So I think Jerry Jeudy at 5'9" on a really ugly slate, we have to consider it. I just think we have to at least think about it. So I'll consider him. Not sure what's going to happen with Hinton and his status, but if him and Sutton are out, right? Again, Judy's going to be a good option. Latavius Murray has oddly looked not bad. 24 rush attempts. I mean, they were leading, right? If they're not leading though against the Rams, that's going to be a problem. We'll at least call that out. I do think they have the chance to. I like the idea, like you guys kind of said, correlating Latavius Murray along with the defense, I think that makes a lot of sense because it's just going to go hand in hand. He'll get all those rushing attempts if they're leading. And then if they're leading, Baker Mayfield's dropping back and you're going to get those fantasy points. So that makes a lot of sense there. The Rams side of the ball is brutal. It's like, I mean, we thought the Broncos side was bad. Cam Akers, I don't know what to do with him. The one thing with Cam Akers I'll give him is he's had 12 or more attempts last 3 games, double-digit fantasy points, getting a little bit involved in the pass game. Issue is, this is a Broncos defense that, like, I mean, they are a good D. Let's at least call that out. So it's not a defense I'm trying to sit here and attack. So I don't think I'm going to play any of those Rams running backs. The receivers, Van Jefferson's cheap, Tutu Atwell, 3.6. He's cheap, and there's no Ben Skowronek anymore. So with him not being there, that's obviously going to open up more opportunities for Van Jefferson and Tutu Atwell. And I think PPR-wise, they could be intriguing value plays. They're not value plays I love, but they're in the conversation. You have to at least kind of give them a mention. And Tyler Higbee, I mean, he can obviously get peppered with some targets, and tight end's not good this week. It is really, really bad. You could go Greg Dulcich. He's another guy that you could obviously get involved there at 3.9K, especially if Russell Wilson's back. We know he likes to throw to him. So I think the main stuff we're looking at here, Holden, is we're looking at the defenses. And I think we're looking at the value options. Like if Judy has the whole receiving core to himself, he's fine. Maybe some of these Rams value receivers and these tight ends, mainly because tight end's not good. And I think you're looking at these guys because of they're so cheap. They might eat enough in the PPR format where if you got like 10 from Tutu Atwell, you might take it on a 3-game slate because of what it can do for your full lineup.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Little 2-2 action there. Maybe Higbee, he looked his way a little bit, but ultimately this is just really gross. Absolutely
yeah, but, I mean,
disgusting.
you thought this game was bad. I mean, the next one's not pretty either. So it's
it got even uglier with the quarterback news.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Let's get into this. Thumbs up would be great. Ho, 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 25. If you're not a sub yet, 25% off your first payment of a monthly subscription. No Saber Sim included, though. So, Bucks and Cardinals. Trace McSorley. Tom Brady. Tom Brady, I mean, at this point, just he doesn't look good. He looks more inaccurate than anything else, but he's coming off a nice game against Cincinnati where he threw 3 touchdowns. He did throw 2 picks, thrown 5 picks in his last 3 games, Tyler. So we look at the number here. And this may have moved since we were talking. What is Trace McSorley? What is Colt McCoy worth to a line? A point? Is that it? Because I'm looking, what was it before we started the show? Because right now it's sitting at 39.5.
Oh, the total?
Yeah.
Let me pull up the playbook real quick.
And it's Bucks minus 7.5. And
the total was 40.5 before.
All right. So it dropped a point, and the Bucks are 7.5 point favorites. So 7 and a hook on the road in this economy.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I was really hoping it didn't get up over that 7 and a hook, because even at minus 7, I know a lot of people don't like to tease that down to -1, but I was doing it in that spot because there's no way I'm laying 7 with the Bucks. That number just keeps going up. I'm probably just going to stay away from the side. Probably get in on the total, though. I kind of like the under because Tampa's defense is still going to pressure these guys. I don't see McSorley moving the ball. And the Cardinals defense blitzes a ton. This offensive line for the Bucs stinks. They'll be all over Brady. He did have a good game last week, but I don't see that happening here. I think the way they do move the ball is through the running backs. So maybe Lenny has a big game. Maybe Rachaad White does. But I think Brady's under pressure the entire game. Same thing with McSorley. Give me the under here. Got a little tongue twister there at the end, Holden.
Under, man. It's just that's a bad scene, Mangone. And again, this is where you'll make your money here. Okay. We got to find something. Fournette, Rachaad White, and a full-blown timeshare. James Conner continues to get volumes. I mean, James Conner's got to be in the player pool, right? Hopkins, Hopkins, I don't know what we can do with, but Godwin, Evans. I'm looking there. Let's go tight end. It's bad, man. This is bad. But there's 3 or 4 pieces I think you can play.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Tom Brady late night hammer sounds not great, but that's where we're at. It's just the game that we have. My problem with Brady is I don't know if I love him in a script that they're leading, right? Like I like him more in that trailing script where he's going to be throwing for most of the game. Like That's the thing that I get a little bit concerned about. I'm trying to like look at the game logs and just kind of see which games. I mean, it seems like a lot of these games that he threw a lot, they were like in the losing scripts, and they've been losing in a bunch of them. Man, I just don't know how I can play Tom. It's going to be really tough. I do think you can play some of his receivers because of if he does throw, right? There are a lot of short A-dot targets. And Chris Godwin against the Cardinals team that likes to blitz enough, well, the play's not going to develop enough for Mike Evans, where I think you're going to see Chris Godwin get peppered a ton. Also, I believe Arizona has had some success this year against wide receiver ones. And like technically Godwin's considered that wide receiver too, because of the role that he's in, and Evans is on the outside. So I do think Godwin is a really good play. Just going to get peppered enough where the PPR could really add up for him. I could easily see him going for like 10 catches for like 75 yards. And if he falls into the end zone, then it's like, you're absolutely mint. But even at that, it'd be pretty good production there for him. I don't know how to really get behind any of these Arizona options. I mean, yes, DeAndre Hopkins is a good player, but DeAndre Hopkins against this defense with McSorley throwing the ball does not sound like anything I'm interested in. I know tight ends are really good against Arizona. So one thing to call out, Cade Otton versus Cameron Brate. It's something that we should consider. Cade Otton had 1 target last week. Cameron Brate, 4 targets. They're 3K and 2.9K. Tight ends have been really good against Arizona. I mean, it's just been an absolute print spot. So if you are struggling for a tight end, taking a chance on a Cade Otton or a Cameron Brate where people aren't going to want to do that, I think one of them has a decent game. I just don't know which one it's going to be. So maybe just roll the dice with those guys, mix and match them just because it's a bad tight end slate. Arizona tight end Trey McBride, and everyone talks about how great he is. And listen, like he could be a really good player, but he's got McSorley. I'm just going to wait and see. Kyler Murray's going to be at home playing some Call of Duty on Christmas. So yeah, I think overall this is a spot where we can get exposure to some of these guys, kind of like I talked about in the last game, like maybe like focusing on the options that are going to be peppered PPR wise, but it's pretty brutal. And then when it comes to the run game, you mentioned James Conner. I didn't talk about him yet, but he's 7K, and this is not an ideal matchup. Yes, the targets will be there. That's at least a nice thing. He's gotten 5, 7, 3, 5, 3. Last 5 games said 100% of the work for the most part here. I think it was the last 3 weeks it's been since that's been the case. But James Conner at 7K, unless I just have the salary for it, I don't think I'm going to prioritize him. I'm going to prioritize some of these receivers instead, and some of these other spend ups like an Aaron Jones over James Conner seems like an easy 1v1 for me. And then you do have the opportunity to play that guessing game with, is it Leonard Fournette or is it Rachaad White? And in tournaments, that could matter, and they're going to be leading in spots. So I do think that's going to be interesting. My lean right now is Leonard Fournette. It seems like he got a little bit more of the work last week. And if I had to pick one, I think they're going to be in a leading script. I think I lean with going with Uncle Lenny, but it's not a guy that I'm like prioritizing in my lineups. And it's a really bad slate. Like, I mean, there's going to be 9 football players from these 3 games that are on the winning lineup. So yeah,
I will be watching the first 2 games. It's the Bucks Cards. I'm going to actually spend time with somebody. So that'll be good. That's the game I can't watch.
Yeah, you don't have the excuse that it's going to be a snow game, and then she's like,
and I have an excuse that I get paid to watch that game. It's like I just can't watch it. So too bad for me. Let us hit the like button. That'd be awesome. And then let us get out of here after this game. I'm gonna go tape the old guys pod. Jacksonville at the Jets. I'm not worried about the weather right now, guys. It doesn't look that bad. Low 40s, some rain, wind 10 to 15 miles an hour. I mean, that's shouldn't be too much to scare you off of this game. We'll find out what Mangone thinks here in just a minute. But Jags getting a point, -103 on the road. Jets -109. And if you want to take the money line, -112. Total's down to 36. What's that move? About a point, Tyler? Not too much. Move about a point down.
Yeah, we had opening line at 39.5 on the playbook, so it's dropped a couple points.
What about betting this game? Because Zach Wilson's in there, and I do not want to back him.
Oh, give me the Jags here. I mean, especially if Quinnen Williams misses again for the Jets. Key defensive lineman for them. They were able to get pressure on every quarterback they played all year by just sending 3. He's out. Goff didn't get touched last week. So if he's out again, I'm definitely going to be on the Jags here because Lawrence is just going to sit back there and shred this team. I know Sauce Gardner probably goes on Zay Jones because he does run the outside routes. They bounce Kirk around a little bit. So I kind of like Kirk better because he'll be in the slot and he'll move around. They should be able to run the ball also, which I don't think the Jets will be able to. There is no real running back there right now. it's going to put it all on Zach Wilson to throw against this Jags team, who have created a ton of turnovers all season. Those sidearm throws aren't going to work that well in 15-mile-an-hour wind. I don't think so. I think he throws a few picks that help decide this Jags game win. Give me the Jags here, Holden.
Williams trending toward playing, Quinnen Williams, according to a couple beat writers there. So he's trending toward it. All right, Mangone, last one, Jets, Jags. I think the schedule makers are like, all right, let's just put these two horrible teams out there on Thursday night. We'll try and bounce back with a great Christmas schedule. And it's absolutely flipped around. You know, now this is a good game. I wish this was on Christmas. Talk to me here. What do we want to do DFS wise?
Yeah,
defense.
I mean, we're playing showdown, so that's the key. Defense, I struggle with in showdown for sure. But defense, I like the Christian Kirk call. I think Christian Kirk could really have a good game and probably be a really good captain option. Trevor Lawrence as well. I mean, if you do think that the run D is going to be solid, if it could be, if Williams is back there, well, that causes a natural funnel. And then the funnel is going to be to Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk, not as much to Zay Jones and some of these other options. So I like that idea. Maybe it is. I mean, we always talk about the showdown, right? The tight ends in showdown have been great. Maybe it turns back to, tight ends in the showdown and in the captain spot. I mean, Evan Ingram, 7, 15, and 10 targets last 3 weeks. I don't know, man. Evan Ingram's coming into his own a little bit. Sometimes tight ends, it takes some time for them to kind of get involved in the situation they're in. It's a hard position to learn. Maybe it's all starting to click for Evan Ingram. I know he's more of a pass catching guy, but he's really came on. So I think Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, really good options. I don't mind Etnium, but I'm going to I want to see how the optimizer plays stuff out tomorrow when I run.
Mangone, can you talk to me a little bit more about Kirk? Because I'm concerned about Kirk. I don't like
what are you concerned
about? Jets secondary, huh?
But what are you concerned about? Because I think Tyler brought up a really key point. Zay Jones is going to probably play more of that outside stuff. They moved Kirk into the slot, right? And they're following into the slot. I think that's the key point that's brought up there. And first, when Stephon Diggs goes against Sauce Gardner, you're not worried, right? Justin Jefferson, you're like, yeah, these guys are studs. But Zay Jones ain't that. You know what I mean? This is not that kind of guy.
Do you think both Ingram and Kirk can work out, or is it going to be either or?
I think you can go both for sure. Okay. Because especially if the run game's not working, right? If it isn't working, they are willing to just drop Lawrence back. And that's where you can put Lawrence in the captain. I do know someone said on Twitter the other day to me that quarterback and the captain hasn't been as optimal. And that seems like that could be the case. And I think it's because of how valuable PPR is, right? Even if the quarterbacks don't have big weeks, and if they do have a big week, normally one of those receivers gets there and crushes, but PPR is just so valuable. And you could really see Lawrence and Ingram just getting peppered all throughout the game with just short A-dot throws. So I think overall, Kirk going to be a really good play. And Ingram going to be two plays that I look at on the Jaguar side as captain options. On the Jets side, it's a little brutal, but Garrett Wilson is a stud. Let's at least call that out. Yes, he is Zach Wilson throwing in the ball, but he is a stud. So I think you could take a chance on him. I don't really want to mess around with any other Jets. I think it's going to mainly be playing some Jaguars in the captain spots. And, if I do play a Jaguar in the captain spot and he's a bit popular, then I'm going to look for a different type of construction. Let's say Christian Kirk is the most popular captain. Maybe the way to do it is play only 2 Jaguars. So I play Kirk in the captain, and I play him with Trevor Lawrence, and then I play 4 Jets, because most people will play more Jaguars onslaughts then, right? Because they're going to jam in Jets this week. So those are things that I kind of look at if I play a popular captain. Not saying Christian Kirk for sure will be, but just something to think about strategy-wise. And then kickers, they should be in play. I know it's going to be a little windy. What's the exact weather again, Holden, for that one?
10 to 15, closer to 15. Low 40s, maybe a little rain. It's fine.
Yeah, probably not the end of the world, but I would consider the kickers for sure. Okay. They're definitely good values. And then other value plays that you could have, obviously, CJ Uzomah caught 2 touchdowns last week. He was more, he only got 2 targets. I thought he was more involved. I guess I was missing that. I know Tyler Conklin has been a little bit involved in this offense throughout the year. Only got 2 targets also. So you're just hoping to see that they maybe grab a touchdown there with that. I know Braxton Berrios is like boys with Zach Wilson, right? He had 6 targets last week, 6 targets. And if you think the win's going to be a problem, Berrios is a guy to hit on some short A-dot stuff. 1.6K, I wouldn't sleep on Berrios completely. He could be a pretty interesting value play at the receiver position to mix and match on your lineups. I know Jamal Agnew can get mixed in throughout the, the pass game and get some run attempts as well. He got 3 rush attempts last week against Dallas. He's only 2K. So there are more value plays that have some pop potential than, normal showdown weeks.
Good. Let's get out of here. Thank you, Tyler, for showing up and doing this for Spread. Mangone, wonderful to see you. And Simon, as always, great work behind the scenes. Hit a thumbs up. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you do. Maybe you just sit at home and you do nothing. That's absolutely acceptable as well. 25% off a monthly subscription. Type in the code. It's a cute one. Ho 25 all together. Ho 25. For Mangone and Tyler and Simon, I'm Holden, and Simon, get us out of here.